Hello.
Why haven't you checked the children?
Pain has a face. Allow me to show it to you, gentle. I am pain.
Here's Johnny. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face, and the blackest eyes, the deathless eyes.
You are one of my cycles.
Hi, I'm Chucky. You wanna play?
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
Coming to get you, Barbara. Welcome to episode 25 of Slice and Dice Dreadcast. I'm your host, Joey Infante, coming in from Brooklyn, New York, here with my co-host, Jimmy B, coming from Pittsburgh.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing?
What's going on? Well, we're here for the 25th episode, and we're joined with a special guest host tonight, Jessica, the Little Horror Nerd. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Hi. How are you?
Jessica, you're from the Resurrection of Zombie 7 podcast, correct?
Yes, where I am.
Welcome to the show, Jessica. How's it going?
Thank you. Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know, having a Corona, chilling out.
I see.
Enjoyed the 2 movies that you chose for the evening, so
Oh, good.
that was great. I'm sure Jim's going to be happy about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have subtitles.
Oh,
It's not from
80 years old.
the 1960s or 70s, and so tonight on the menu we have the remake of The Last House on the Left from 2009 and the new release a couple months ago, Get Out 2017, written and directed by Jordan Peele. So we're going to talk about those tonight. Those will be our featured discussions. But first, as always, let's talk to our host for a little bit and see what's going on. So, Jessica, we came across on Twitter. I believe you and Jim started chatting, and we invited you to the show, right?
yes.
Now, before I ask you about your podcast and how you got into all that, how did you get into horror? You want to give a little,
To be honest with you,
enlighten us?
yeah, I don't remember. I just remember that I always liked horror movies from as young as whatever memory, as far back as I can remember. So I don't know, but my mom is not a fan of horror. She actually hates horror movies. But when she was younger, she wasn't as uptight, and she did watch a few at least. But she told me one time that she read The Exorcist while she was pregnant with me. Always blamed it on that.
I mean, that
From
makes
whenever
sense.
I heard that story, yeah, right.
Excellent. So, what are some of your favorite? You know, not like a top list, but what are some of your favorite films?
Obviously, I like the 80s and 70s slasher movies because those were the ones that were in the video store when I was a kid. When I was really young, I wasn't allowed to watch anything like. I was born in 72, but I wasn't allowed to watch anything that was like maybe like past the 60s. So like usually I just watched whatever was on TV. You know, they had like an afternoon horror double feature on Saturdays, and they would always be like Universal monster movies, or occasionally I saw stuff that was kind of surprising now that it was on there. Like I just rewatched something called The Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good, there's an anthology of 3 stories, and the most famous one is this killer doll one. And I actually saw that on like the local Fox channel. It wasn't even a Fox at that time, but when I was pretty young. So it was it's surprising now that that was on there. But and there were like one or two other movies that I remember that were on there that were kind of scary. Probably my mom would have said no to. Ours came around.
Yeah,
My best friend and I, we were allowed to. Her mom didn't work, but she worked at home or something. So it was her VCR, so she just let us use it. As long as we paid for the movies, we could watch whatever we wanted. And then my friends didn't seem to care what I picked, so we just constantly watched horror movies. Starting when I was like maybe 12 or 13, and then just on. I could watch pretty much. I mean, I was on my own at that point. My mom really didn't have any control over what I was watching, so that's probably when I started to watch. Like, I think the first couple movies I probably rented were, I think, Friday the 13th was one, and also Halloween was one I remember watching when I was probably like 13, maybe 13ish, and then. Just from then on, I either went to the video store or there used to be a place called Suncoast Motion Picture Company, and I used to buy and watch them at home. Eventually, I was able to get my hands on my own VCR.
I miss those.
My mother never bought any. Yeah, right. My mother never bought any of that stuff. So, like, I always had to get. Like, if I wanted a VCR, I had to get it. I was the one that signed up for cable because she didn't want it. But yeah, I miss the video stores. I don't know. Netflix has a lot of advantages to it. One is no late fees, because I was super lazy about taking things back to the video store.
And 99 cents to not rewind it or something.
Oh, right. If you didn't rewind it, you got charged extra. Yeah, and there was always only one copy of whatever movie it was. So if it was out, then you had to wait till they came, the person came back with it. So just watch whatever you want. I mean, even if you're on the DVD plan, I'm sure they have, unlimited amounts of discs. So they're never going to be like, oh no, you can't get that movie because somebody else has already rented it. But yeah, so.
All right.
That's my story from when I was younger. I mean, I pretty much rented videos like consistently all through high school. And even once I graduated, that's all I did. The summer after I graduated, literally like every single day I went to the video store. I went with a friend and we got videos and watched them. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So your podcast, you want to tell our listeners about it so they can check it out?
Yeah, so I actually started listening to podcasts like about 4 years ago. The first podcast I ever listened to was Mark Maron, whose What the Fuck podcast, or WTF, is on iTunes. That's an excellent podcast. Not hard, but he's awesome and does really good interviews with various people in the entertainment industry. And so I thought to myself when I was listening to him one day, I was like, gosh, I wonder if they have this kind of thing, but it's just horror instead of. And so I just did a search in the app that I use, because at the time I think I had a stupid BlackBerry, and I right. Nobody has BlackBerries anymore, right? And I did a search, and and I came up with a bunch, and I just picked one or two, and one of them happened to be the one that I'm on now. To that, and the two guys that were on it at the time were my current partner and his friend who lived not far from him, and they are in Indiana, basically like Bloomington area, which is where Indiana University is. So it's a college town, and liked them. They just seem like real people, like down to earth and funny and nice, and I liked their senses of humor, and so I just started listening, and then months or something. I don't really know how long it was. I'm going to say it was 6 months later. It could have been longer. One of them couldn't for family reasons, and because he had some small children at the time. So he left, and my I just get different people every week. but you know, he kept asking me whenever he, you know, if he wanted, I think initially to have like rotating people, because you really can't do a podcast alone. I mean, there's not really a lot of subjects that you could do a single person podcast about that people would stay interested in, because you need somebody to work off of or bounce ideas off of.
Shout out to Mr. Watson, Horror Corridor, the best solo horror podcast out there.
That's amazing, and I also think you'd probably go a little bit crazy trying to do one by yourself, because you're responsible for the whole thing then. To help you share it, you don't have anybody to help you edit, upload, nothing. So anyway, eventually I just became a permanent co-host, and so we became friends, and now I usually go see him about once a year in his town, hang out with him. And the podcast was all his baby. He created it. We choose a franchise, and it's only franchises, and we just go through the movies one episode at a time. And then whenever we're done a franchise, we do a one-off movie, like a movie that has no sequels to it or anything like that, to, you know, get a break from the, you know, monotony of the same material over and over.
Right.
And so we've been doing this for 4 years. I mean, he keeps saying we're going to run out of franchises, and I'm like, no, dude, we're not, because they keep fucking coming up with horror movies, and then when they run out of ideas for new ones, they just keep making sequels. Like, anytime anything makes money, they're like, well, let's make another one and another one and another one. And eventually, you know, they don't even have anything to do with each other anymore. They're like totally ridiculous, or they're just terrible. They keep going because people will keep paying to go to the movies to see them. So
Puppet Master
I'm like,
72.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, there's some that are really like, we've already done the Amityville Horror franchise, and that is just the absolute worst. And they actually are still creating movies for that franchise, because there was one that was supposed to come out last year that's been pushed back like 3 or 4 times. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's fun. You know, we watch a lot of bad horror movies, that's for sure, because sequels tend to take that road eventually, obviously. But and then we do the one-off movies in between. So you
guys have like over 200 episodes, right? 4 years you've been going. You said
250.
250. That's awesome.
Yeah,
and that can all be found on iTunes. So check that out.
Well,
Resurrection of Zombie 7, right?
Zombie7.com is the website, and iTunes you can get the last 50.
Okay.
I don't think most people, I don't know how they decide this. Like, there are a few podcasts that you can go back further than 50 as long as they're free. But I think like stuff like if you're not like, example, Mark Maron's his podcast actually was, or may still probably be, the #1 podcast in iTunes. You can probably go back further than 50 as long as you're not into the archives. And that's probably because of who he is, you know, and he's making money off the podcast, and he's probably, you know, iTunes, because people are coming there to listen to the podcast. So generally, just like people like you and I think you can only get the last 50. And most apps are like that too. You can't go, you might not even be able to go back that far, but our website has every single episode there's ever been on there. I don't think any are missing.
Trinity, Zombie 7.
Zombie7.com. Yep.
Yeah, so that's awesome. You cover the franchise, then you do the one-off. So you guys recently did Jaws, right? So that was a one-off?
No.
That's the start of the franchise. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thinking of 4th of July. The sequels don't matter, you know. Jaws is Jaws.
Right? Yeah. And Jaws is, I think it's just 4 movies. And also for franchises, a franchise actually is 4 or more. So if if it's less than 4, we won't cover it unless we do it for some other reason. Like maybe, you know, we decide at some point we want to do ones that have 3 only. Because like Poltergeist is like that. There was never a third movie because she died in the middle. The little girl, the little cute blonde girl, Heather O'Rourke, she passed away in the middle of the third movie.
Yeah.
When they were making it, so they obviously decided obviously intelligently decided not to continue on without her. But yeah, so there's only 3 of those. So there's some like that, but I mean, it's crazy. Exorcist has like 5 or 6 movies in, like that out. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I actually thought there was only like 2 sequels to that. I didn't realize there were like all these other movies that Exorcist, the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and also I'm like, what the
remake? I think they remade it, right? They did a remake of it.
No, there's no remake yet. If somebody remakes
prequels
that,
and sequels.
Yeah, if anybody ever remakes that, I hope they get the shit beaten out of them by like a crazed fan or something. That definitely does not. Yeah, that does not need a remake. That is fine the way that it is.
They just started the TV show. I think it's last season, so I heard that's going pretty well.
Yeah, that got renewed. Renewed.
I saw that the other day. Renewed season 2.
There was a question on that one, but it did get renewed. So.
Excellent. So, have you guys ever covered? I'm stumbling. Have you guys ever covered the Phantasm franchise?
We have not gotten to that yet.
Oh, that's my favorite.
That's coming.
Phantasm, my all-time favorite, number 1.
I think so. I saw those movies a long time ago, and I may have rewatched 1 or 2 of them in the past couple of years, but I remember being really freaked out by like the first 2. I think there's 5, and he's died, so that's hopefully they're done. I don't want them to make any more without the tall man.
That's it. Keep it that way.
Hopefully that's I totally agree. So there's Ravager
was the last one that came out in I think December it came out. And they just put out a box set, one with Arrow in the UK and one with Welgo in the US. I picked up the US Welgo. We're supposed to cover a franchise on some podcast that I'm doing. We'll see what happens with that. But if you guys ever come across that, give me a shout.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. Well, if that's your favorite, I should keep you in mind, and we could have you, because we don't always have 3 people, but sometimes we'll have a third person. So, So it's always nice to get a fresh, whatever thoughts on the show.
Have you done Halloween or Friday the 13th or anything?
Yeah, he actually did Friday the 13th before I was a permanent part of the show, which I was sad about because that would have been fun to do those. I did a bunch of them, but I didn't do all of them. And then we just recently did Halloween. We actually did Halloween in October of last year, and that was my favorite franchise. But after I did them, I realized that all of them are bad except for 1 and 2. Like all the rest of the sequels they're really pretty much garbage, and I don't like that third one. I never did.
Oh man!
And I know that's either a love it or hate it. My thing.
Jim likes you, I think. I think you went up a tier on the podcast world for him.
I was angry. I was like, "Where is Michael Myers?" I remember when I rented that for the first time. I was like, "What the fuck is going on? Where is Michael Myers? This is not good at all."
Sorry, we're banned from doing Halloween 3 on this podcast.
Oh, it's a mess. We didn't care for it.
Our October is going to be, if we go as planned, going to be a nice Halloween franchise type of sense,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, I have Michael Myers on my arm.
Oh, that's so cool. Have you ever been to Universal Studios, those Halloween Horror Nights?
I have not.
There's house there now.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my podcast partner went a couple years ago, and he took some pictures and stuff and sent them. But you can actually tour it on YouTube. People have uploaded videos of it. It's pretty cool. But he said it was crazy. He had to wait forever to get in there, and But I like it because it looks just like that. And there's also one in North Carolina too. If you ever want to go to the Michael Myers house, there's one in North Carolina, and they do a big party. I think it actually is for Halloween, and it looks just like the original house. So you could go, and I think you could like pay. You like pay. Yeah, you like pay or something, and you could stay overnight. It's crazy.
Stay overnight in Michael's house?
Yeah, I just
That's
don't
pretty
like the
sick.
sequels though. Now I don't know what happened, but when I had to review them for the podcast, I just realized the sequels. I do like Part 6 a lot, and the reason that I like that is I really liked the cinematography. I don't like the alternate version, like the one that they were initially going to put out. I actually like the theatrical release. I like the cinematography in that. It's really dark and spooky, that one. So I like the way that it looks a lot. And I thought there were decent kills in it. Like, I actually thought it was pretty off the, like, the thing is, like, my podcast partner pointed out to me that there's like 3 different, or it's like either 2 or 3 different storylines within that one franchise.
Yeah.
Like 1 and 2, and then 4, 5, and 6, and then what is it? Then there's the H2O. It's supposed to be
Halloween water.
You know, right, Halloween water. That goes back to the. You know what I think would have been best if they had done 1 and 2, on none of those other ones, and then done H2O to finish it out. I think that'd have been cool. It would have only been 3 movies then, but.
I'm sorry because I'm looking at the group chat on the thing. I've been waiting to say something. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I can't help it.
What?
Jerry says Halloween 3 is the best.
Fuck you.
And he said I could stay over his house, and I could stay over his house. And I look like I'm trying to not to smile and laugh. And yes, that's exactly what was happening. I was trying not to laugh. So, shout out to
because
Jerry.
they're watching and they're making live comments. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not used to that.
We'll get into, like I said, come October, we're going to do our version of the franchise, and I'll be able to delve into it all. And you are right, there are 3 different.
Yeah. Well, you know, I noticed it, but like I didn't ever focus on it because here's the thing. If I had to say, maybe it's not necessarily my favorite franchise, but he is my favorite, like, villain from a slasher franchise standpoint. As like a horror icon, he's my favorite, and I think he's the scariest.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had, like, over the years, from the time I started watching horror movies and watched that movie, I've had nightmares about him killing me. The fact that he doesn't have emotion on his face, and although it's a mask, because Jason is weird in that he almost becomes a supernatural character at one point in the franchise. It's like he's not even like I don't know, whenever in, like, I think it's either 6 or 7, I think he almost sort of becomes like undead in a way. But with Michael, and then different people under that mask, it's not like the same person plays them, like Robert Englund is. But then that character is kind of ruined too because he's so scary in the first one. But then as you go through the franchise, he gets to be like a jokester, which definitely takes away from the scare factor. Like, I remember Nightmare on Elm Street scaring the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah.
But then as you go along, you know, it gets less scary because of the way that the character kind of, in a way, devolves. I still like that franchise and I still like that character. And I think he's an awesome actor, but the jokey nature of his character towards the later movies kind of wrecks the scare factor a little bit. Another movie that really scared the hell out of me was Scream. Another situation where, because it's human beings under there, at some point it's not scary anymore. And I think it loses its scare factor from the first movie, like, through the movies, because it's the same formula over and over again. It's just like, people put on that Scream costume so that they can kill people for whatever, you know, ludicrous reason they come up with.
We find out at the very end of the first Scream, you know, that it was all because of, you know, her mother, you know, sticking with Billy's father, blah blah blah, and then all the other sequels are basically just different people from Sydney's life trying to kill her.
Right. Exactly. And so it loses the scariness. Like, the scariness was all the way up until the end, like, because you don't know who that is or what they're doing or why they're doing it, and this costume itself is freaky. But then whenever they take it off, the two killers are so fucking stupid fools that you're just like, oh, they're not scary at all. Like, they weren't. And especially Stu. I just actually rewatched that because it was on some cable channel. And at one point, he's like crying and bleeding to death. And he's like, did you really call the police? And Sydney's like, I did, or you bet your ass I did. And he's like, my mom and dad are going to be so mad at me.
Yeah.
And like, this is the dude that you were just like frightened, you know, to death of the whole movie, who was under the you know, the costume. And now he's just like some stupid high schooler guy.
I think that was so smart on Wes Craven's part, or Kevin Williamson's part, for writing it, because at that point they turned from these scary serial killers to high schoolers. Like, he just turned back to, wow, I just got stabbed and I'm fucking scared. So that, I think it's smart. It's easy. Some people look at it as stupid and unscary. I think it's smart the way they did that.
I could see your point. Just except the only thing I would say about that is I do think it, you know, puts down the scare factor, you know. Although I will say that even though you find out who they are and they are disappointing as being scary at that point, frightened for, I know I was probably like 19, 20, 21, maybe I was older than that. Actually, let's see, that was 96 and I was born in 72, and I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it a couple years later. Actually, I was really scared downstairs in the dark for a couple weeks afterwards. I was afraid of the closets in the house. And I was like 27, 28 years old at that point. So,
well, it's like realistic, you know? I mean, that's something that can happen, right?
Sure.
We actually, when I saw it, I was in high school, and we actually did this shit.
Yeah.
And nowadays we go to jail. Back then we went and got the voice changers. We had costumes we were sharing and running around the streets, scaring people, scaring like the high school. Too, and I'm like, dude, this could have been anybody.
Yeah.
Actually kill people. Like, and it made me think, wow, it makes you appreciate it a little bit more, like, that it was actually pretty scary.
Someone could do for sure, and people do stuff like that, you know, in this country on a daily basis. So, you know, there's always some lunatic that's murdering somebody every single day. So it's definitely, I agree with you though. I think that stuff that can happen is way scarier than the stuff that's like, you know, that's scary when you're young and you don't have a lot of access to horror movies or a lot of experience watching them. But as you get older, the stuff that's scary, truly scary, is the stuff that can actually happen for sure.
Jim.
Yeah.
Jerry says, Jim is getting really bad interference. I'm praying for him.
So, just trim that fast. And when I'm running video, it just takes up a lot of bandwidth.
Okay, so let's shut the video and see what happens. Okay. What's it called? So Trin's gonna pray for us because he thinks our podcast is cursed. That's what happens when we keep talking about ghosts. And speaking of ghosts, the question we always ask our co-hosts for the episode. So
video off.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, right, Jimmy. Oh no.
Yeah.
Not better.
Yeah, no, it is better. Talk again.
My video's off.
Yeah, it is better. It's not perfect, but it is better. He's gonna blame me for this. I'll tell you that much.
You turn yours off, Jessica. See if my computer will start running faster. Maybe if I'm not running your video too.
Sure. Where do I find mine? Oh wait, never mind. Hold on.
Top of the window camera. Okay.
There you go. You sound better.
All right. Well, here we go, folks.
Sorry, guys.
Well, you guys are gonna miss me taking off my top. Oh well. Sorry. So
I was gonna take off mine. I mean, I would think they'd be more disappointed about that, but
oh, I don't know. I got the Olaf pasties on, so you never know.
I got the packs in the six pack. I think they're gonna be mad. They're not seeing that right now.
I in an early episode of the podcast, they were fucking making fun of me, calling me Olaf nipples. So I took my daughter had like frozen stickers, and I slapped 2 Olafs on my nipples, and was on the episode. I just took my top off and had Olaf faces on my nipples.
oh my god, those are real pasties, though, aren't they? Huh?
Woohoo!
Because I've seen those. Like I've seen ones like that are faces, like a Yoda face or something crazy like that. I've seen. Oh, somebody had. There's a girl. Her name is. Shoot, she's on Twitter. She's a porn person. Her name is like Diana Prince or whatever. And I've seen pictures of her wearing Jason ones. Jason pasties.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We have her
right?
our Twitter.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. No, on our Instagram.
You should check her out. Yeah, I was gonna say you should check out her Instagram because she posts a lot of stuff because she's a big horror fan and she posts all kinds of stuff that she has in her house. I guess that's horror stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent. So Jessica, let me ask you. Jim is I don't know if you know, but Jim is a paranormal investigator. He straps on his brown suit, puts on his ecto pack, and hits the town in a white hearse.
I did not know that.
No. But seriously, he's been doing this shit for over 20 years. So we always like to talk paranormal on our show. So we ask our guests, what is your experience? Do you believe in this stuff? Any kind of stories, or is it just a big no? No, I mean, what's the
I believe in it, but I don't. I've never had any experience with it. My grandfather died like 8 or 9 years ago, and for a long time I would talk to him and visit me, but I guess he was gone. So I don't know. My podcast partner is really into that stuff, and he's done a lot of ghost hunts and stuff like that. I don't know how much in comparison to Jim, but he's really into that stuff too. And he claims that it's people that are old or sick. When they die, they don't have any life force left by that point. So they just go wherever it is that you go after you die, which nobody really knows. People have their beliefs, but obviously nobody's been able to confirm one way or the other. As the people that stick around are the people that die abruptly, or suddenly, accident or medical, emergency or murder or violent, some violent death or something, because they don't know, or and they were not draining of their life force before they died. They were living their life like a normal person, and then somebody came along and stabbed them to death or whatever happened to them. So I don't know. Maybe you can't. Maybe somebody who's old like my grandfather, who was 91, maybe he's not going to come back no matter if I wish for him or just on his own.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to your friend and seeing where he came up with that idea, I guess. But yeah, that would be a good conversation to have. But me personally, no, that's not what I believe in. Considering old nursing, and we do communicate with a lot of elderly people if it is them. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That idea sounds so interesting, though. I've never heard that before, but it makes sense.
It made sense to me too. I'm not entirely sure where he got it from. The other thing that's interesting is he lost a family member who was quite young, abruptly to a medical thing. Nobody, including the person who passed away, knew they were going to pass away. It was just one day they weren't here anymore. And he used to do this thing called it's not a dumb dinner. It's it's this thing where you set a table for dinner, and then you have a place for the person that is passed away as well. Like something like you wait to see like if anything is, you know, anything is disturbed or anything, and that like I guess would mean that they had been there. But he said he did that with his family member, and they didn't. There was no response, as far as I know. It's not a dumb dinner. I wish I could remember what the exact name of it was.
The dumb dinner.
I think I'm calling it that because I'm thinking. For some reason, whenever I think of it, I always think of the word dumb waiter. So it comes. It's a dumb supper. Sorry. It's a dumb supper, and you can look it up. You just Google dumb supper, and it'll come up. If you guys have never heard of it before, you'll be able to check it out. So the short answer is no. I wish I had, but I haven't. I wish I'd seen somebody that was dead. I mean, and I wish my grandfather had come back. I'm really interested in that stuff, but I don't know. Maybe he's really the only person I ever lost that I was extremely close to, except for his sister. And she died a long time ago, and I never saw her either. The only real experience that I even had, I don't know, this isn't really the same thing, but whenever he passed away, I wasn't there. It was at the hospital, but somebody from my family came and got me, and they hadn't taken him away yet because my family asked to sit with him for a while. So I went in to his room, and everybody sat with him, and he was already passed away. And I got to like hold his hand, and I wanted to touch him, and I wanted to see what he felt like. I checked for a heartbeat to make sure that they weren't wrong. Because I always hear those stories. I don't know that this has happened recently, but you know, from back in the day where people were buried alive. So that's scary. That's scary. I just wanted to see what he felt like, and I mean, he actually felt and looked the same. A few hours, and whenever I went to leave, his arms had started to get stiff because I'd been holding his hand the whole time, and I couldn't get his arm to like go back under the, like next to his leg under the sheet. So I was like, I think we should leave because he's getting rigor mortis. So it's time to send him to the morgue. But and so then whenever I went to the funeral home and he was prepared to be buried, like, you know, they had done because we're Catholic. So, I mean, I know there's religions that don't do the embalming or any of that stuff. I know Jewish people don't. I'm not sure about others, but I know that's one. But we do the embalming and, you know, make them all nice and get them dressed up and whatnot and do the viewing and everything. So I went to the viewing, and he actually looked he was probably looked the best of anybody I've ever seen after they've been passed away. And so then I wanted to see what everything was like after they had done all the stuff. So I wanted to touch his hair and his hand and all. I'm very it's very weird to me. Like, it was like always a concept that it was difficult to swallow. Like, how is that person not in there anymore? And even though I'm like 45 years old, I still don't seem to be able to digest that. Like, where are they? It's weird. They're not there, but we don't know where they are, you know? So, but maybe one day. What's that?
I said that's what kept me going for as long as I have, trying to figure out what's going on and who's out there, what's out there, what happens, where do we go, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, and I even said to my podcast partner on more than one occasion, I'm like, I just want to know where we go. Like, I don't want to go somewhere and I don't know where I'm going. I don't like that.
I need a map.
And he's like, right. And he's like, Jessica, that's the question of everybody that's alive. You do realize that, right? And I'm like, yeah, but some people, like my grandfather was totally fine with dying. Like, he's the only person I've ever met like that. But he like wasn't afraid at all. He like was knowing where he was going. You know, like he was going to heaven. That's where he was going. He was going to be with Jesus because he's very Catholic. And And I wish I had that attitude, because whether it turned out to be true or not, at least it's more comforting, for the person who's going to pass away. Because my grandfather, even though he was 91, he got sick, and he actually wasn't sick before that. Like, he had some ailments and stuff, but he got sick like on a Friday, and he had passed away by Sunday. And so it was very fast, and it wasn't something that he was having before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So time to prepare, and he wasn't even scared at all. He was totally fine. And I'm like, whether he's really going where he thinks he's going or not, he's lucky that he feels that way and is truly like in belief of that. Because then, it makes it easier for him, and also for the people around him, because he's not scared,
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I wish I had that experience, but not yet. Maybe never. Maybe some people never have it. I don't know.
Well, a positive experience is right now, you got a couple of new listeners in the group. They're adding you to their queue. So, excellent.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So, it's gonna be good, man. We're gonna network. We're gonna have some fun and do our thing. So, all right. So let's get into our featured films for the evening. Then, is there anything else you want to plug before we segue into the movies?
No. You can find me on Facebook. If anybody wants to like the Facebook page, it's Resurrection of Zombie 7 podcast, and then I have my own page. And if you just put Little Miss Horror Nerd in the search bar on Facebook, you'll find my page, because nobody else has my name on Facebook. So,
is this like a page or like
it's a fan page. I just put like the podcast on there. My podcast partner writes a blog, so I put that on there. And I just put fun stuff on there, articles about horror, pictures, memes, videos, GIFs, whatever, whatever I feel like it.
Excellent.
Yeah, I try to keep, a bunch of posts every day so that people can, people tend to go and like your page if you post every single day. Facebook is a tough place to get followers on, or fans, whatever.
Content.
I don't know if you can, but we got a group, that we have on Facebook, and it's pretty great, man. It's very active, meeting some great people. Hence, Jerry and Trin that are on right now. Jerry, he podcasts for Kill the Cast, Married with Children podcast. Trin, he's got a page now listening. He listens to all of our podcasts, and we just shoot the shit all the time. It's great, It's awesome to network and just, meet these people. Because like I was growing up, I was always me and my core friends. They were like, "What the fuck are you watching, bro? What is this movie?" I'm like, "Guys, this is a good movie." "Oh, what are you watching these fucking movies in the 80s? These old movies." I'm like, "Dude, what do you want to watch? Fucking Transformers Part 7? Like, enough."
How old are you? Can I ask how old you're?
I'm 32.
Oh God, you're way younger than me. How about you, Jim?
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't choose my age.
Yeah. I'm way older than you guys.
That's not bad. I mean, I don't see the difference between literally 33 and 53. There's really no difference. You can't do anything else that we can't do.
Well, Jess, I'll tell you right now, we thought you were a teenager the whole time when we were talking, me and Jim. Like,
oh yeah.
So
why? What, on Twitter or just now?
No, on on Twitter or whatever. Like, because we didn't, like actually talk verbally. It's just like that little, picture of you, and we just get a couple of little pictures of you.
I mean, that's not like 10 years old. I just took that like a month ago or 2 months ago.
There you go, girl. You got it going on, so enjoy that.
The name maybe too is like Little Miss Horror Nerd. It seems like a little younger girl.
You have more years on us, but you look younger than us. So that
I don't
speaks
think-
volumes. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
We'll have to have the listeners chime
I
in.
don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs, and I don't go in the sun. So
There you go.
maybe that's my secret. I don't know.
That's the key. Trim's
Right.
44, Jerry's 28.
Oh, okay. Oh, then the first guy is closer to me. I'm 44. Sorry, 44.
Oh, so these are the same age.
He's same age, yeah. I'll be 45 in September.
Well,
All right.
who gives a shit? Age is only a number.
Well, that's why I was like, I'm old. Like, we can't be doing this at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No. Definitely not 4 o'clock in the morning. I got to be up at whenever my kids wake up, which is usually before 7, probably like 6.
Oh, wow. How old are your kids?
4 and almost 2. Almost 5 and almost 2.
Okay. Well, the 5-year-old's probably pretty easy, but them 2-year-olds are maniacs.
Yeah, the 5-year-old makes appearance on our podcast. Danny, hear from the monitor, or she coughs, and then Jerry thinks it's a dog.
Oh, no. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, he was a guest host on our episode, and he's like, "Oh, what's that dog doing over there?" I'm like, that's my daughter.
Oh my God, you like that dog is my daughter.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with Last House on the Left. Let's get into it. Jim, you want to pop up the synopsis? I'm gonna go grab a pop. I'll be back in 1 sec.
Yeah, let me get over here, courtesy of IMDb. House on the left.
Hello. Did you give that synopsis?
I was waiting for you to crack open that cold one there.
Cracked and ready.
All right. Yes, here we go. From 2009. It's a remake, but it says kidnapping and brutally assaulting 2 young women. A gang unknowingly finds refuge at a vacation home belonging to the parent of one of the victims. A mother and father who devise an increasingly gruesome series of revenge tactics.
So, who did this?
Well,
Elatus?
yeah. The executive producers were Sean Cunningham and Wes Craven, but yeah, it's a different director for this one.
Yeah, I never heard of him, this director. But Craven and Cunningham also worked on the original.
Mm-hmm.
Actually just covered the original a couple months ago on my other podcast.
Oh.
So I saw that recently, and then I watched this one. So, had a nice little comparison.
Mm-hmm.
7 films, this guy. So
Anything of notoriety? Is that
no.
no? So I guess let's start off by why did you choose this film, Jess?
I actually had it. I watched the original one a while ago for the first time, and then I had this one as well. I got them both, and Stephen King raves about this movie in the foreword to a newer edition of one of his books, and I was reading that like 2 weeks ago or something, and he went on and on about this movie, and so I thought that I decided to pick it because he said it was so great, and I was skeptical about it because even though I bought it and intended to watch it, I thought it can't be better. Like, I didn't think it would be better than the original in terms of, because remakes often aren't, and I also didn't really care for the original, so I couldn't, whenever I finally watched that, I didn't understand what people had been raving about it for years, and I was just like, I don't get it. So whenever I read the thing that he wrote about this movie, I decided to pick this one because I thought, how he must. I mean, he knows what's scary. He writes scary stuff. So.
Mhm. I mean, I think what
Yeah, a lot of
I'm sorry, Jim. You talk. Sorry.
Sorry, no, I was going to say a lot of the reason why, like this and the original "I Spit on Your Grave," a lot of the reason why these have such a following is because of the like you don't want to. The originals are very raw and very graphic, and
Mm-hmm. Sure.
they stand out to me. Not as scary, but as like, ugh, like I didn't want to watch that, but like, it's like right there in your face,
I think also the historical standpoint too. I mean, these movies specifically, the original came out, I think it's 72. So I mean, this was, a precursor to a lot of this. I hate to say torture porn, but like exploitation films.
Mm-hmm.
And also the way it was made, right? I mean, it's almost like it was made on a handheld camcorder, and like it felt authentic. It felt like this was real,
You felt that about the original one?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
like a Deliverance feel.
Oh, it's like takes Deliverance to a whole new level.
Oh God! See, I thought that the original "I Spit on Your Grave" was really good, and I thought it was very realistic. I mean, if I didn't know better, I would have actually thought she was being raped, and she was naked in that too. The actress that played the victim in the original "I Spit on Your Grave." I actually didn't like the remake as much. It wasn't a bad movie. I just didn't think it was as didn't have as much impact on the viewer. I felt like I just thought that the first one was much better, but the reverse is how I felt about this movie. I liked the new one better than the old one.
Interesting. That's a rarity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like in the original, I thought the bumbling cops with like the Benny Hill music,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a little weak. But then I asked, in the podcast, thinking about it, like, why, did Wes Craven decide to insert that? And it could have just been for a comedic standpoint. But I think if you think about it, these are the people who are supposed to save the day, and they're just a bunch of bumbling buffoons. So I think he's like maybe making commentary on that.
Could be.
But that's just me joeying things. That's what
I don't know. I
happens
honestly thought that the scene that had the most impact in the original was the lake, where they basically kill both of the girls. I thought that was a really depressing scene, and I don't know. I'd actually seen that particular scene in a lot of documentaries about horror, and just here and there over the years, clips and different things I watched. But I thought that the death scene for the two girls, especially when they shoot the one girl and she's in the lake, and then she dies, obviously. I thought that probably was the best scene in the movie to me. I didn't even think the rape was all that rough to sit through in that movie. The rapes in the "I Spit on Your Grave" were horrific.
Oh yeah.
But but the rape in this one, in the original "Last House on the Left," I didn't think it was all that upsetting.
Yeah.
And usually, if I watch something with a rape in it, it is if it's as long as it's done, a certain way. Even if it's not a horror movie, it's very hard to sit through. It's very upsetting.
Plus the dynamic of adding the female as one of the bad guys. Watching these other females get very upsetting to watch too. Like unsettling, I guess would be the word. But,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a different aspect that this, "I Spit on Your Grave" doesn't have, but they added that in this film, and yeah, I like what they do. I mean, I enjoy this movie. I like both of them actually. So
yeah,
I definitely like this one too, for sure. But the first one, again, 1972. I mean, really, these films didn't start until what's the name? Herschel Gordon Lewis, or whatever his name is, Lewis Gordon, Herschel Gordon Lewis. You know what I'm talking about, right? Blood Feast.
Yeah.
until that time, and these, and Blood Feast was what 9 years before this. So I mean, historically speaking, this I think is it left its thumbprint on the genre. It definitely opened up doors for a lot of films. But looking back at it, right, because on my other podcast, Death by Podcast, we did a sequence of episodes where we covered disturbing films, and this was one of them. And we watched Necromantic movies, both of them. We watched the Human Centipede trilogy. We watched the Serbian film, the French Extremity film. So we watched a lot of fucking sick shit. And watching Last House next to all of those, it was like the least disturbing out of all of them. And, but again, that was from 1972. All these other movies were, a lot later than that. So if you take about it like, okay, I'm sitting down to watch this in 1972, it's balls to the walls, absolutely crazy and horrific. But, when you're numb to all this kind of stuff and you watch it, it definitely, I could see how it doesn't hold up for many. Just like I can see how Nightmare on Elm Street doesn't hold up for many, where me, it's my number 2 still,
Yeah.
But this one, I thought this was well done. I mean, it definitely feels, Hollywoodized a little bit. You know what I mean? Everybody's like really pretty,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the people weren't as attractive in the first one. I will agree with that.
I mean, look at the sun. The son in the original versus the son in this one, 2 totally different characters.
Yeah, and this one, he was very soft, soft looking, and and then he was I can't remember that was the son mean or good in the first one.
He wasn't. He lured the girls back with negative intentions, where here I think it was purely like, I just want to hang with these 2 chicks,
right. And he thought the people that he was with weren't, the family wasn't going to be back, and that was why he brought them to the hotel room or motel.
The original, they were looking, or he asked them if they wanted the drugs or something, and that's how he got the girls up to the room. And but yeah, this one, it was a little bit different. Yeah, I think he was just a lonely, scared boy at the beginning.
Yeah,
I like that aspect of it too.
Yeah, that there's one of them. I felt bad for him. I mean, I felt really bad for him, and so the dad in this, is the dad from Scandal, or is the guy that plays the president on that show Scandal? Sorry, and then he also was from the movie Ghost, Swayze's character's friend, who set up his murder and then tried to hit on his wife after he got somebody to kill him. I don't know if you guys remember that movie or if you've ever seen it, but
no, I never saw it.
So you never saw Ghost?
Oh no, Ghost! Yeah, Ghost. I saw. I'm talking about Scandal. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I don't watch Scandal either, but I know it because they're always talking about it on TV. But yeah, the dad in this. The good dad, not the doctor, not the the creep.
Frick, what was his name? Tony Goldwyn is his name. Tony Goldwyn.
Yes, yeah. So he's gotten really famous because of Scandal, but he was the bad guy in Ghost because he was the friend of Patrick Swayze's character that got him killed on purpose, and then he tried to hit on his wife.
And the mother is from the NBC show Parenthood.
Micah Potter, yeah, I like her. She kind of looks like she reminds me a little bit of Julia Roberts, actually, in the face. That is.
Interesting.
I always thought she looked a little bit like Julia Roberts.
Then you got Aaron Paul, who was always from Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
Love
and
it.
then the girl is she was in that movie The Innkeepers. Did either of you see The Innkeepers?
Oh, yeah, Sarah Paxton.
Yeah. She was
relation
in
to Bill?
Innkeepers. No, I don't think so. All the actors also, I thought everyone did a really good job.
Yeah, definitely. I before when we were waiting for you, Jim and I were just talking, and he was like, this is identical, you know, and I was like, you know, not exactly. So like, I guess we talked about the son. You know, he was on the Krug, the father, had Junior, that was his name in the original, on heroin. So like,
Wow.
in the original, his son was on heroin, where here there was never any mention of that. So
No, I don't think he was on drugs at all, actually.
no. I mean, he was smoking the pot, but I mean, hey, that's here or there. But what's it called? In the original, he's on heroin. So again, like he's standing in an alleyway, like scratching his face when he, you know, offers them the weed or whatever. So he's a little more of a shady character. Although he does feel sympathetic, he never does anything about it. You know?
Right. That's what I was going to say. I don't remember him ever coming to their aid or anything like that.
Right. Let's just throw our spoilers up so we can talk freely. If you've never seen this movie and you want to, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal.
Go watch.
So, yeah, he leaves that necklace, which was a plot device in the original as well, where, you know, that's how the mother knows, around the hot chocolate. And then later on, he gives them the gun. So, I mean, and you actually see in the boat, he's with the mother and the daughter at the end when they're driving away in the boat. So I guess he was 100% on the good side.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually, so I felt like the first half of it was really hard to watch. Particularly the rape. I actually thought the rape was really realistic. And the other thing was that I actually thought that he sodomized her only. I didn't realize he just had raped her from behind. Like, I thought he didn't have vaginal sex with her. I thought he just, you know. So that made it worse for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, here he's raping this, like, little girl. And he's not even raping her like where you normally would. He just stuck it up her ass. Like, I was really upset by that. I'm like, he's gonna rape this girl, and then he's like this scumbag, and she's not even good enough to. I know that's a bizarre thought. So much worse than that. I thought that she was just being sodomized.
What makes it crazy is I was reading here that Sarah Paxton said in an interview that the rape sequence took 17 hours to film.
Oh my god, that is fucking crazy.
That's brutal.
She had to go through that shit for 17 hours in front of all these people.
And I would think that you would be psychologically damaged by that too. You know what I mean? Like, I was saying that to somebody. I thought, like, especially like even that Last House, or not Last House, the other movie we were just, I Spit on Your Grave. Like, that lady, like, wasn't she like, she probably needed therapy after that, because that was almost like pretty much being raped. Like, they were like bashing her head into things. They were beating on her. She actually didn't have any clothes on. That wasn't a body double.
Yeah. I think the working conditions are definitely different than the original. I know in the original it was like really, really pushy, like, let's get this done. They were like filming guerrilla. So I mean, it was pretty intense on the original set. I'm sure this was also an enduring experience, 17 hours to film this. But I'm sure they had like craft services to go to in between and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody was being denied bathroom breaks or food. But I mean, to be having to film that kind of material for that long, like, I'd be fucking pissed.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy. That's crazy. That's like that. It's not quite the same, but there was a story from one of the Friday the 13th movies where they had one of the girls out on a raft in the middle of a lake, and it was like freezing cold outside, and the guy that was playing Jason in whatever movie that, I think it was part 4, was like, you need to get her out of that lake, like, she's gonna get sick. And she actually ended up with like hypothermia or pneumonia or something like that. And he like threatened to leave the the production because he was so mad that they had her out on this lake with no clothing on, laying in a raft for like hours and hours and hours. And it was cold out. Like, even though it was supposed to be summertime, it actually wasn't warm. So, I don't know. Some of these things these people go through, you know, you watch the end product and you're like, You don't know any different, but
So to say that a movie is not art, these people are creating something and giving their life and giving their health and giving their mind and body.
sure.
Movies take a lot of effort to put together. I appreciate anybody who can put one out. That's all. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you know, today Jason Lloyd tagged me in a post. There was a movie called Deathpool that came out. So I reviewed it for the bloody bits, and I think I gave it 2.5 out of 5 or 2 out of 5, whatever it was. It wasn't a good, you know. He says I bashed it, and I bashed it because it had major fucking plot holes. You know, it was entertaining. I give it that. You know, there was an annoying actor. You know, but like I said, major fucking plot holes that I thought. You know, I'm thinking about this when I'm watching it. Like, what about this? What about this? What about this? It wouldn't work because of this, because of this, because of this. This isn't realistic. Da, 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 da. You know, it wasn't. It was a movie that didn't. You know, when you go into the horror genre, you need to suspend disbelief, right? You need to suspend disbelief
To some degree, sure.
To some degree, right? If you're making a movie about Freddy Krueger, yeah, I'm gonna suspend my belief about fucking the dream world and all this shit. But if I'm watching a slasher that doesn't have any supernatural elements to it, you know, I'm expecting a serious, straightforward movie unless they do in a campy tone or whatever it is for what it is, you know. But ultimately, you know, I think that I totally lost my train of thought right now. I'm so sorry. I just had a brain fart.
Stop drinking those beers.
Yeah. What the fuck was I just saying? It's not the beers, it's the pot.
Oh dear.
That's the one that makes me forget things. And also my phone rang that I shouldn't have looked at it. Sorry. Fuck, that just fucked up my whole thing. I'm sorry. I just ruined that.
That's okay.
Anyway.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, suspension of disbelief. Oh, yeah, suspension of disbelief. There we go, right? That's what I was talking about. So, yeah, if the tone of the movie is going to come off serious, then that's what it's going to be. You know, if you're going to do a movie that's campy, then that's fine. You know, my suspension of disbelief takes a step back. So, anyway, our producer, Jason Lloyd, who runs the Horror Affiliate Network, he watched it and gave it, I think, a 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4, he said. And I was like, wow, it's pretty high, you know. Another guy, Phil Perone, also rated it high. You know, so I mean, everybody likes movies for different reasons, you know. But like, you know, I think Ebert walked out of, was it this movie he walked out of?
What one was it? Fuck. We said that so many times, I can't remember now.
We covered whatever movie he walked out of.
Maniac.
Maniac, yes. So Maniac, which is fucking an amazing movie.
Yeah, it is.
He walks out of it, you know, right after that. One of the best head explosions Savini's work could do, you know?
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one.
So, anyway, you know, you like the remake better. I like the original better. Jim, where do you stand?
Honestly, probably. I mean, I'm gonna say I like the original better, but not for a better or worse movie. Just, I mean, I'm more inclined to watch the original more than I am the remake. Because the remake kind of looks more, like you say, more Hollywoody, which I have no problem with. But it seems like in 1972 they kind of don't pull any punches, and it seems like in the new movies they kind of hold a lot back because of the studios and all that kind of stuff. But I like the raw feel of the original more than the Hollywood version.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that it is a prettier movie. Like, the remake is prettier. The cinematography is a lot better, but then that also goes to budget. Obviously, because the Last House on the Left original was like Wes Craven's first horror movie, and I'm sure he didn't have the budget even like for that time that these guys did for this one.
Yeah, no.
So I think that's probably
they did this on a whim with like no, like David Hess, he did the music in the movie. He was a musician. He wasn't an actor, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely I think that contributes to the feel of, of it being grittier or, more unfinished. And then this one is definitely a prettier film.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, the budget here was $15 million. The budget on the original was like $85,000.
Wow. That's funny. Yeah, I noticed though that this one, when it came out, it actually knocked some other movie that was #1 out of the #1 spot. I forget what it was, and then it ended up making $45 million worldwide, which isn't bad. Because they definitely made their budget back. Plus, I just like it better. I don't know. I thought the other one, it just didn't have as much of an impact on me that I thought it would. But in general, I actually really like revenge movies because, oftentimes in horror movies, you don't get that. The bad person doesn't really get their comeuppance. Like, there'll be a survivor. You'll have a final girl or a final boy, or sometimes you'll have both. But you won't have really any real, justice. And I mean, really, who cares if you send Freddy back to the dream world or Jason gets stuck under the lake? Like, who gives a shit? They're not even alive.
Right.
But so I like revenge movies because, for one thing, this could actually happen. Other, it's like, and that's the same in real life. Lots of times people don't ever get charged with stuff that they do for one reason or another. Or murders go unsolved, or, people get out of jail before they really should, or they don't get charged with as high of a level of a crime as maybe they should have, because they don't think that they can get a conviction on a first degree. So the person ends up with second or manslaughter or whatever. So I like revenge movies because it's like horrible, 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 horrible stuff. And then they get, they have to get their comeuppance, and you get to see them get it. So I think that is the best part of revenge movies, is seeing them get back what they deserve and more. And the best one, actually the best death, in my opinion, in this is the guy, the uncle, played by Aaron Paul. Because first he gets his arm in the garbage disposal, and then he gets the claw hammer in the back of the head.
Yeah.
So
with a little drowning in the mix too.
Yeah, right. And and he re-broke his nose too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that was a good one. I like that one. The girl was a little disappointing because she just got shot in the eye. Actually, she was shot twice, but the first one didn't seem to bother her too much. And I have a question for you guys, because I really didn't understand. So at the end, right, we think the dad is dead, but the dad is not really dead. But then the very, very, very end is the dad in the garage, and the doctor tells him he's paralyzed, but that he's going to be okay. And so, I thought he was just going to keep the dad in his garage forever and just, make him live like that and, come in every now and then and do things to torture him. But instead, he put his head in an open microwave and made it explode. So I'm not sure, first of all, why did he paralyze him? Or, did he give him a drug? Or was
Just
he
for torture.
paralyzed from that fight?
I'm going to assume that he paralyzed him with some kind of medication, because they, alluded to him being a doctor. Or they said he was a doctor, but they alluded to, in their guest house, they had, random fucking drugs in their cabinet for Justin in case he was sick. So I'm assuming he had, whatever kind of paralyzing agent in the house,
Okay.
But as far, I thought that, dude, how did the microwave work with the door open? I've had microwaves my whole life.
I want to know.
That was fucking stupid. That was stupid.
How does that? That really is suspending disbelief, because you can't turn them. It doesn't work. Doesn't work unless you close the door. So how does that happen?
He should have put his head in a toaster oven or something, let it slowly burn in there. A fucking an open mic, and that's the thing, I would have rated this the same as the original Last House, even though I liked it better, but it dropped a half a zombie head down to, I'll give that in a sec, but yeah, I was just like, come on. I like the stinger ending where fucking they show him torturing, But I thought it was going to be a slow torture, not just a quick boom.
Yeah.
Looked gorgeous, that head explosion.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I get why they did it, and the head explosion is great, but I feel like they could have found a more realistic way to accomplish that.
Yeah, come on, man. A fucking non-closed microwave? Really?
So, but other than that, I really liked it. So,
all right, so let's rate this bad boy. I'm gonna go with 3.5 out of 5 zombie heads. So on the show we rate out of 5 zombie heads, just so I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5. I gave the original 4 out of 5. I thought this was great. I enjoyed it, but a couple of flaws, like the ending, right? And that things, I guess, because it stayed too close to the original. Although I thought this was good. If you saw the original, you already know basically exactly what's going to happen. I like when movies, especially at the end, they deter from the original. They change it up. They go a different loop. Here, I mean, in the original, she died. Here, she didn't. But ultimately, the ending was the same. Along with many other things, including the plot points like the necklace and the car and everything. The pot, they could have figured out a different way of getting them back, especially since that wasn't Justin's character anymore, like Junior was. So anyway, I don't want to keep rambling on. 3.5 out of 5 zombie heads for me. Jimmy?
I'm gonna go the same, 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, like I said, it's very close to the original. I'm more of a fan of the original, but this held up as far as the storyline, as far as staying true, but being different with certain scenes and different parts. And yeah, it's very simple. Just pretty easy to rate this one a 3.5 for me. I don't know, not more to really go into.
I would give it a 4.5 zombie heads. I really liked this a lot better than I liked the original. Oh, the only other thing that I thought was a tiny bit unrealistic, and I'm not a doctor, so I can't say for sure. There's a lot of variables, but surprising that she was able to live through that shot, even though it didn't look like it hit anything that should have been fatal. She was bleeding for a really long time. And it took her hours and hours and hours and hours to get back to her house. And then they couldn't even get her medical attention right away. So I was kind of surprised with that. Not surprised. I guess that's the wrong word to use. But, a little silly because I felt like she would have been in worse shape. And
also,
I think she was able to get up, right? How did she get up and get into the boat? I don't get it.
Nah, she swam back, I thought.
No, whenever she was in the house, remember at one point when the guy came in the living room, she was gone.
Oh,
remember by the
how
time
did she get to
the
the
dad
boat
came
then?
in, right? How did she get up on her own and get into the boat? Like the dad and the mom were busy killing everybody. So I don't know. I felt like that was slightly unrealistic, but I'm not a doctor, so maybe it is possible to survive that. Who knows?
I think the reveal of her still being alive was weak, especially because in the original she dies. So you're if you saw the original, you're automatically assuming that she's dead. But it was just like her on the buoy real quick. I was like, all right, I guess she's still alive. But I thought they could have did that reveal probably a little better somehow,
Right.
But all right. Let's move on to our final film for the evening.
Would you guys mind if I ran and got something real fast?
Not a problem. We could do our little plug real quick.
Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry.
Come on down to Beaver Falls. Club Phoenix.
I'm going to play it real quick. It's only 30 seconds here. I'll play it.
Hell yeah.
Once this damn Google Music.
We're all
opens
about
up.
having fun on this podcast, baby.
You're in the Pittsburgh area, you're in adult entertainment, stop on out to Club Phoenix, located off the PA Turnpike in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Wednesday until Saturday. We open at 8 p.m., $20 cover, complimentary drinks and specials throughout the month. Check us out on Facebook at The Club Phoenix. Keep up to date on all of our specials throughout the month. Remember, that's Club Phoenix in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. And we are open Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m., Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. $20 cover and complimentary drinks all night, beer and liquor, and also regular beverages, non-alcoholic. So come on out if you're in the Pittsburgh area.
Oh, yeah. Yo, it's definitely something, I don't know, because the audio on the fucking commercial sounded just like when you were talking.
But I don't know. It's going to be perfect on my end, so don't worry about it.
No worries. No worries at all. I know it's going to be great. So, all right, folks, next week. So we're a weekly podcast now. Holy shit.
That's right.
We're going strong. We got people booked for the whole month. But next week, we got a special guest coming on, Mr. Bill Casanelli. So that'll be fun. And we're gonna talk with Bill, talk shop with him, and then we're gonna do slashers from 2002, I believe, which might be hard to get, and 100 Bloody Acres, which is on Shudder. Jim, if we can't get slashers, Bill has another one on Shudder on backup. I tried to get it a DVD. It's out there, but it's a couple dollars, so we'll figure it out.
I'll be able to find it. But yeah, Bill is known for, I guess, an actor, writer, known for Scary Tales from 2001, Dirty Cop No Donut in 1999, Screaming for Insanity, Truth or Dare 3 in 1998. So he's done some work in the horror realm, so it'd be good to talk to him. From Jamaica, Queens, New York.
Yeah, another New York boy, Billy C. How you doing? So looking forward to chatting with Bill next week. And then we have a couple other guests for the rest of the month lined up. We have, well, actually, after that, there's only one episode left, I think, for the month. Because
for July, yeah.
We're not going Tuesday that week. I'm going to go see the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, one of my favorite bands in the world. So I can't wait for that. Tuesday, July 25th. So Thursday, July 27th, if all works out, we're going to have Gabrielle Stone on the show. The daughter of Dee Wallace. She's a first-time director. We'll talk about her film. We'll talk about her roles in the film she's done and about the genre. So we're looking forward to having a bunch of guests on for the rest of the month.
Wow, how'd you get Dee's daughter? Lucky you.
Just hit her up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Two movies. I watched a trailer for two of her movies. One was made in 2013, Speaking of Evil, and the other one was made in 2015, Zombie Killers, Elephant Graveyard. She was actually in that with Dee Wallace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember that one, yeah.
Billy Zane, and you know him from, I think, Mummy movies. And,
Felissa Rose was in that, wasn't she?
Felissa Rose was also in that. Misha Barton's in that.
Felissa was also in a movie with Bill. So Bill's got a couple of ghost stories, a Felissa story, and a couple stuff to talk.
Do you ever get her? You ever get her on yet? You should try and get her.
Yeah, we've talked to her on Instagram. I think she liked a couple of our things, but we actually haven't had communications about the show. So maybe we will have to do that.
Her. She so she came on my show a couple years ago. She actually, my cousin lived with her and her husband for like a year when her kids were babies, because my cousin, I don't remember where he met her, but they're friends, and my cousin was living in California, which is where she lives, and for whatever reasons he ended up living with her and her husband, and so he gave me her info. He talked to her first, gave me her info, and then we talked on the phone. And she's super nice. She was really easy to talk to. It was like I'd known her forever.
I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah, she's a nice girl. And so then I had her on the show, and all we did was interview her. We didn't like do like this, like how we normally do. We just did an interview, and she was really nice and cool. I hear that. Oh, that damn dog. But yeah, she was really cool. We also had Tom Holland. He's another one. I really like him a lot.
Oh yeah, just did Fright Night a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, he's like super busy now. We got him not this past June. Well, not the June last month, but I think it was June last June, or maybe it was the June before. But anyway, we got him, and now he's like doing all this other stuff. And it seems like he didn't have his website or any of that stuff when we first talked to him a couple of years ago. But he was fun. He's really nice. He's from Indiana. That's where he was. I think that was where he was born. California now.
He
So
didn't do Fright Night. What am I talking about? He did the fuck. I'm thinking of fucking. Who am I thinking of?
Child's Play, Psycho 2.
Who did? We just did this.
Fright
Jim?
Night. Well, Fright Night.
What?
There's a
I'm
new
fucking
Fright Night and
burnt.
an old Fright Night.
Tom Holland was the writer for Fright Night 2011.
Ah, there we go.
No, he did not write that. That's the remake. He wrote the original one from 1980, whatever it was.
Yeah, he do. I don't fucking know. I know we just did it. And he did the new Spider-Man that came out.
Hey, I'm looking at
No,
his Fright Night writer 2011, Fright Night writer 1985. He wrote both of them.
Yeah, no, they just gave him.
Oh,
when we
the other
talked to
Tom
him-
Holland. There's two Tom Hollands. That's why
Yeah.
I'm all fucked up over
Oh
here.
my god!
I know
what is
Tom
going
Holland
on?
did Fright Night. And I said, oh, he did Child's Play 2 on the episode with Christian. I was like, oh, he did Child's Play. I never
He
thought
did
about who
Child's
actually did.
Play, and he actually wrote Psycho 2. Also,
Yeah.
And then he was also
no, he's
Adam Green's movie, Hatchet 2.
Jim. He's credited on. This is what he told us. He's credited on the Fright Night remake, but that's only because he wrote the original. He didn't have anything really to do with the remake.
Well, I guess it's pretty much the same movie too. So it's,
Yeah. But yeah, so he was really cool. So you guys, anyway, the point was you should get Felissa.
No, I messaged her first on Instagram right when we started our show. Like, she was going to be like her first big star to be on the show, and I think I sent like 2 messages to her after she liked us on Instagram and started liking our pictures, and she was supposed to be at the convention I was going to, and I just never got to meet her.
Yeah, I think there was a convention she was going to do one year and ended up not being able to go, but I don't know which one it was.
Yeah, this was like the end of last year.
Did you go to New Jersey?
The one I'm going to be going to New Jersey, then the other one was Scarefest down in Kentucky.
Ah.
No, I can't wait to meet you in person and give you a hug, Jim.
Why is that?
Because I love you, bro.
Oh my God! Lay off the beer.
We have a seance to do, buddy. I'll be coming up there soon.
Yeah, we're going to do a seance in my house.
Oh, no, that's not good.
My mother-in-law's house.
No. I hope you don't use Ouija boards either. No good can come of that.
Yeah, no, that's a rule. You don't touch a Ouija board.
Okay, my podcast partner is the same way.
Yo, I wanted to buy one in Toys R Us, but it was
No.
like $30. I was like, I'm fucking buying a Ouija board that's probably fake. Obviously, it's a fucking toy from the store. But what about a real? Can you get a real Ouija board?
Yes.
You could probably get one at like a friggin' garage sale or something that was used. I mean, I don't know if that's a good idea either, but I kind of feel like one would be really. What would be really scary is if you made your own.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people
think-
make them and sell them at conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
What about the one in Toys R Us?
Well, I don't know.
Well, that
I
was-
mean,
Is that considered a real Ouija board?
Anything can be a conduit to communicate. I mean, you can use any. I mean, realistically, me going out and using a voice recorder is technically a conduit to communicate. So realistically, that's no different than a Ouija board is. But Ouija boards kind of have this stigma behind them of, oh, you're going to open a portal and blah 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 blah. I don't know. They're all the same. They're all used to communicate one way or another. I mean, I don't know. I just stay away from them because I've used them before, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but you know, there has been increased activity afterwards, so I kind of just stay away.
Don't you think it's like they or do you think it's just a stereotype or whatever you want to call it? But no, do you think it's that they lure bad stuff instead of good stuff?
I think if anybody's afraid of anything paranormal, that everything they hear and see and everything is bad. You don't know how many people come in my building that ask me, "Have you ever been hurt? Have you ever been scratched or possessed or anything?" I'm like, "No. This isn't a movie. This is real life."
Okay.
Like, but
Right.
people are afraid of it, so they always like learn from TV movies. So, but that's really not what it's. I've encountered a lot of negative energy and things. I've been scratched. I've been choked. I've been, you know, felt like I've been punched. I mean, those things do happen, but it's just part of the job.
Gotcha.
Have you guys ever seen Witchboard?
Oh yeah, like 150 years ago.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that was an old one.
All time. I remember watching that one on cable back in the day.
Yeah, it was a good movie for sure. I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't know. I guess you could probably still get it somewhere, right?
You can get anything somewhere.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Sometimes you'll be looking for a movie and it'll be like it's not been, you know, whatever it's been released in is out of print, or you know. So then like, hey, you can buy a copy, but somebody's charging like $150,000 for that. You know, like on Amazon or something. You know, there's always some knucklehead that's trying to make money.
Don't put it on Netflix; it'll lose value. So
Get Out 2017.
I was going to say. Meanwhile, back in the movie.
Meanwhile, there's an American gentleman who is not very liked.
All right, I guess a real synopsis. We can get one.
Yes. Get Out. I think if you're on Facebook or social media platforms, you probably have seen posts about this. Get Out 2017 horror mystery is what it's labeled as. Synopsis is: it's time for a young African American to meet with his white girlfriend's parents for a weekend in their secluded estate in the woods. But before long, the friendly and polite ambiance will give way to a nightmare.
Ooh, bum bum bum.
Which is an understatement.
Bum bum bum. So, Jim, this was your first watch.
It was. I won't delve into it. Like, I don't know. This isn't. Before watching it, it's not something, a premise that I would watch or, you know, think would be good. Very surprised and very invested in the movie as I watched it. I was very like, and it was a mystery. Like, what am I watching? I know there's something going on. I know there's something, and you don't really get it until the end. But
sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
it was incredible. I thought it was crazy good.
Jessica, was this your first watch?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is my second watch. So I saw it in the theaters, and when I did see it for the first time, I was glued to the screen. I mean, I'm talking, there was people around me that I wanted to fucking punch out, but because the movie was so enthralling, I was just in the zone, you know? But watching it the second time around, I think it still holds up pretty damn strong. I watched it with my wife today, and actually, I didn't watch a movie for 2 whole weeks since the Dawn original episode 2 weeks ago. Last week we had the Dawn on our show, and the movies we had already watched. So, I haven't watched the movie. I took a little break. I mean, this is my 189th and 190th movies of the year. So I was shot. I mean, I got kids and a job, so I can only watch movies in the middle of the night, and I was just burnt out. I was like, I need a break, man. I was in a funk. I just needed to take a step back, you know? But today I watched 2 movies, and it was fucking refreshing. I'm telling you, I felt so good. Anyway, watching it the second time around, it was great. Like all little things that, because if you don't know, I like to really analyze shit. I'm an English professor, so my brain is fucking always analytical. So I'm like looking at every little detail, color schemes, dialogue. I try to really break shit down. And watching the movie the first time, I was just really absorbing it for what it was. Where here, I was trying to really pay attention, and I got to bust out my notes now. So I don't want to Joey it too hard on you tonight, Jimmy. But
wait, you're a professor? Where?
I teach at a college in Brooklyn. It's called Toro College.
Okay.
And I teach college writing and literature.
Holy shit.
Not to interrupt you, but we just got tagged by Bill Castanelli on Facebook. I'm so very happy to announce that a week from tonight, I will be recording on Slice and Dice Dreadcast. It's been a dream of mine for over a year now.
Is that sarcastic, Bill? Shit.
I was going to say, that sounds a little...
Oh, man.
What are you trying to say? You don't think anybody would want to be on our show for over a year?
Well, I mean, he just kind of it kind of sounds like he's being smart, but
I mean, we haven't been on for a year, so he's pretty talented if he hasn't been listening. If he's been listening to us for over a year,
we haven't even been on a year. Almost a year.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. But Jim and I met the way that we met. Well, you and Jim, I guess, met first. Twitter.
Wow.
It's funny.
That's interesting. So you guys don't know. You said that, I guess, already. You guys don't know each other really. Like you haven't been met in person.
I was doing another podcast, and I happened to interview a director from a movie on Netflix called The House's October Bill. And became friends with the director on Twitter, started following him. Joey saw me on there and was like, "Oh, we reviewed this movie a couple weeks ago on my other podcast," and he saw the show, or he listened to the show that we had with the director. We got to talking. He said, "Oh, I want to do a horror show, aside from the one I'm already doing." And we've just been. That was we started our show last October 25th was the first show, and we started talking probably like August-ish.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised you haven't met up yet. I mean, you're really not very far from each other. I mean, I might be closer because I'm only 100 miles from New York City. Yeah. Like I could get there in like an hour.
You're an hour and a half from me. Philly's an hour and a half. I'll be in AC on Sunday, so if you're in Atlantic City, come see me.
But I don't know. Pittsburgh might be a little further because Pittsburgh is probably farther from me than I am from New York City.
Yeah,
it takes me 5 hours to get to about 5 hours, 5.5 hours to get to Philly. I go for investigation sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Through Philly, I've been there. I did Fort Mifflin. I drove. I go and photograph Eastern State.
Did you say you went to Dunder Mifflin?
I went to Fort Mifflin.
Is that why the name Dunder Mifflin?
No.
Sorry.
It's very far away from Scranton. I said sarcasm. Bill says no, sir. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, so I forget, you forget about that. Like, even though you're in the same state, it doesn't mean you're anywhere near the other person.
You're literally on. I can get to Ohio within 15 minutes. You can get to like New York and Jersey within like 45 minutes, probably.
So you know what? You're probably actually closer to my podcast partner than I am to you, and definitely to him, because he's in Indiana, he's in Bloomington, and I know he's near Ohio. I don't know exactly what part of Ohio, but
I get Indiana in less than 6 hours.
Okay, so that's why you would go to the one in Kentucky, because he's gone. I want to say he's been to that one in Kentucky before, and Kentucky's like 4 hours from him.
Yeah, it's about a 5.5 hour drive from me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's in Lexington,
Kentucky.
we'll be going there the end last weekend of September this year. I actually won a free pass at last year's convention, so I get to go for free this year. So that's gonna be fun.
Oh,
It's a Nightmare on Elm Street.
Cool.
Last year was or Friday 13th. Here's Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, I'm excited.
Cool.
So that movie Get Out. You know me, I love tangents, bro. Can you imagine what my classroom's like?
Yeah, sounds like it's probably chaos.
Anyway, we will get back into the movie though, because it was a very, very good movie. So let's get into it.
Yes, it definitely was. So yeah, the second time around, it still holds up strong. Although I think, you know, all the hype that the movie got and the trailers ruined everything. Like, my wife knew basically the, you know, whole twist.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, like a half hour in. But, you know, I think it's because, you know, it's been posted and stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah, I managed to stay away from spoilers, thankfully.
So, you know, I don't know if she saw spoilers, but I could definitely understand, especially, you know, we covered a lot of Giallo films on our podcast, and it's basically a murder mystery, right? Horror murder mystery films. So from watching those, I've really learned to help, you know, figure out mysteries. So it's like you have X amount of characters, you know, and you just try to put all the situations that are possible. Now, that major twist in this movie that we're not going to give yet, that definitely I didn't see coming, but I didn't see any of this shit coming. Actually, I was I was sucked in hook, line, and sinker. I thought this movie's great. I think this movie's better than great. It's fantastic. But she was like, all right, let's throw spoilers up. If you haven't seen Get Out, definitely do not listen to this podcast. Shut it off and watch the movie and then come back to us. But, you know, we're sitting there and I'll tell you the exact scene. Right after they hit the deer and the cop leaves, she's like, oh, she's definitely with the people that kill him. And I'm like, how do you know he dies? You know, I always try to, like, you know, whether she's right or wrong, I always try to just be vague. But yeah, she called it. So it's like, if you think about it, though, you know, what's going to happen here? You know, how crazy is, if you think about it as a mystery and you know all these kind of, you know, weird things about the movie, it's easy to put the pieces together rather than like opening weekend, you go see it and it's like, holy shit, you know? What else? There's a million things over here. My notes are open now. So I'll just start from the beginning. We get the opening scene, right? You got a young man walking, playing with a cell phone, talking like, I shouldn't be over here, you know, fucking sketchy around here. He's on his phone. Next thing you know, he gets abducted, captured. Then it cuts to a young couple, black man, white woman, and the movie tries to basically use race as a, I guess, the what is it? The wolf in sheep's clothing, you know? Because ultimately, at the core, this is a fucking not a movie about race, but a movie about almost a cult that kind of wants to just keep them, you know, keep their lives going when they become old. And it's really not about race, but more about continuing life. So it's this mad scientist cult movie at the core of it, right?
I agree.
And I think that's brilliant by Jordan Peele, because everybody's worried about, you know, the whole race thing going on here. The black man, white woman, looking at the dialogue, worried about their relationship, when really, like I said, I mean, I can't speak for you guys. I did not see any of this coming.
But the race is always there because, you know, it seems like every single person they abduct or get is black.
Yeah.
It's always going to be racial in there, but why? I don't know.
Well,
But I think that was intentional. Like, I think they were abducting black people on purpose because of something that they thought the black people had that they didn't. Like, I don't know. One of them makes a comment or something at a party, about how it's like black people are in, or
Black is in
that,
fashion, right?
right.
Black isn't.
So they were doing it yes, they were doing it on purpose. I don't know if I agree with that statement, but I mean, maybe these old white people thought that it was. I mean, and I had no idea that was what was going on. I mean, I didn't put any of it together. I had managed to avoid the spoilers. So, and I will say that, yeah. I mean, I liked Allison Williams, his girlfriend. That's who plays his girlfriend, Allison Williams. Because I had only ever seen her on a show called The Girls from HBO that has been on for 5 years.
Yeah, my wife's like, "Oh, she's from Girls." I'm like, "What? What's Girls?"
Yeah, it's a good show. It was a good show. It's off, but like, there's a couple people that have come off that show that have careers now, so she was not, her character was nothing like this person on Girls. She was kind of, she was. Nobody was evil on that show. That's not the kind of show that it was. It was more like a Sex in the City for millennials or something. But she actually pulled off her character. Like, I thought she did a really good job being creepy, especially when you find out like what's actually going on. I will say though that I watched the entire movie and I wasn't completely sure what they were doing. Or what they had done to these people. Like, for some reason, I still wasn't exactly sure what was going on with the people that they had, taken. And so I actually looked up a synopsis of it afterwards because I was somewhat confused. Because it's not like they come out and say it, really. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that, remember when he's tied to the chair and it shows the video. And it's the guy, I think, what's his name? Stephen Root. Stephen Root plays him. The blind guy, I forget his name, but Stephen Root plays him. And it's a video of him telling him why he chose him.
Right.
So, and also, this guy, he spent like whatever money, they don't tell you, just shows numbers one with his hands, the father. But ultimately, if you think about it, right, and this is why I say, race was just a cover up to hide all the other shit going on. He's like, I don't care if this guy's black or white or whatever. He's talking about his autistic eye, not just his eyes to see, but his artistic eye. Remember, he talks about how he wants he takes pictures, photography. Remember, he was like, "Oh, you own the Hudson Gallery, right?" He's like, "Oh, yeah. So he already knew of him. He already knew who Chris was. Chris already knew about his gallery. So there was the whole art thing going on there, right? So I think, that's an underlying thing to look at here. This guy didn't choose Chris because he was black. He chose him for his artistic merit. So like I said, blacks in. Yeah, look at the genetics. Look at the brother. He talked about him. Oh, if you really push your body, you'd be a beast, he tells him. Dude, I mean, come on. It was really just, I think, it definitely speaks volumes on a socio-political level, 100%. You could take the dialogue, you could take the staging. I mean, she's looking in the case and there's black and white donuts next to each other. Come on. She's eating the cereal and she's got the cup of milk separate from the Fruit Loops, which are all different colors, right? I mean, come on.
Oh my God. Wow.
The symbolism's there. But,
I didn't see it.
That comes after. I didn't pick that up the first time. I picked that up this time,
No. I was gonna say, maybe it's because you're a teacher. I don't know, but
he's shaving, right? It's like he's spreading this white on his face and then taking it off. It's like the opposite of blackface. I mean, there's so many different things I got here. Notice that I pulled that.
You're just making shit up to make yourself sound smart.
Oh, stop it already.
I just need to fucking shave, man.
He was just shaving.
There's no black shaving cream. There is, let me know.
Yo, he could have been taking a shit instead of shaving, right? Jordan Peele had him wiping shaving cream on his face. There's a reason for that, man.
Well, and before I saw this, I did hear plenty of people say that the movie was racist, and I thought that was pretty. I mean, it didn't sound right.
The only way this movie is racist is because of the slavery undertones that were there with the auction and the groundskeeper and the housekeeper. But then we find out that, hey, guess what? That's not really who they are, you know?
Right.
So that's the only time it's a very closed-minded or very, you know, simplistic way of thinking, oh, these things happen, so this whole movie means this. No, you're just an idiot.
Well, and also, I mean, I guess you could also say, like, because they were using the black people bodies, that they were sort of in, like, keeping, like, sort of enslaving them in the way that they were taking their lives away from them so that they could continue to live. So maybe that's sort of a version of slavery. Only it was the person who took the body in there instead of the other person. So their mind wasn't really there, but they had taken their body. So maybe that's like, you know, but still, I mean, seriously, that's like a stretch. And for all the racist stuff that's directed towards black people, like the white people are going to complain about a movie being racist is pretty ludicrous.
You know, I mean, the movie was written and directed by a black man, so I mean, you can't say it was if a white man made a movie and it was derogatory towards a certain race, you know what I mean? Then I would say, yeah, obviously that's racist. But I mean, this is not racist. This is commentary on real life disguised in a horror movie, you know?
Sure, I agree.
And look at the villains in this movie, right? This isn't fucking the guys from Green Room coming to get you. You know, did you see Green Room, Jess?
No, I haven't. One of my friends has been bugging me to see that, and I told him I would finally watch it this weekend.
Yeah, check that one out. You know, they're like Nazi punks. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, your villains here are freaking suburban white people. You know, the guy's a doctor. You know, they're not like you know, corporation millionaires, but they're well off living in the suburbs, right? Like it says, oh, he would have voted Obama for the third time. You know, these are the kind of people you're dealing with here, and they're the bad guys, right?
Jordan Peele's actually father was black and mother was white.
Who, Jordan Peele?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So he's actually that from the movie. Like, his mom was white and his father was black. So I'm sure a lot of that had to come into the play when writing the script.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, that's you know, something that many people don't experience. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's easy for, you know, for example, right? When Donald, I hate to get into politics right now, but I mean, you can't help it with this movie. You know, like when Donald Trump comes elected into office, right? People are, you know, acting in so many, like, just letting their fucking racist card fly. I mean, I've heard of people talk about experiences at a gas station where you got shit thrown at you for being a woman with a burqa on, you know? All different kinds of shit, and it's off the chain right now, you know? So, you know, in the midst of everything going on, Jordan Peele makes this movie, you know? And like I said, look at the people that he's talking about here, right? Look at these characters, right? These people are just as bad as the ultra right wing. You know what I mean? Sure. So, and the screenplay that I'm working on, it's about a neighborhood in Brooklyn that has changed drastically. It's not about race, but it's about society and the way, you know, there's basically like a class system going on. Anyway, I hate to fucking go on rants and sound like I'm preaching about this shit, but you know, it's easy for a white man, a white woman to talk about all this kind of stuff, but you know what? You never experienced it. You've never been a black person. So I mean, you know, I know tons of black people, and I love talking about this movie with them, you know, to get everybody's viewpoint. And believe it or not, most people that I talk to love this movie, you know?
Well, I was just going to say, I think I've discussed this with my closest friend from college. She's a black girl, and she actually grew up in a white neighborhood. Like they were probably like the only black family there. Maybe there might have been one other one, but she went to a school that was also pretty much all white. And she, I mean, the thing is that we've talked about how there's like, more than one kind of person who's racist. I mean, you have people like you said who are very vocal about it, especially now because they think that they have a past to be that way. But also you have the kind who are the polite racists. And those are the people who, would never be rude to somebody, with brown skin's face or, somebody who comes from another place that they, whatever, but they will shut the door and talk about them, with their friends. Do you know what I mean? And like not look at them as, the same, if you get my drift. Like you have people who will yell it, and who are violent and who are crazy and weird and dangerous and obnoxious and all these other things. But then you have these type of people who are upper middle class, maybe upper class, maybe even wealthy, and they have manners and they have a certain way that they live. So they don't just let all their, they don't do the word vomit. They, are polite to everyone's faces and say all the right things, but then when they get with their people, then they say how they really feel.
Well, I don't think that's even racist. I think the term racist gets used way too damn much, and it means something way more than what people think it means. Racist is like you hate an entire race of people, no matter who they are, what they do, you just hate them. These people, the white people in this movie, I think they just have such a different belief system and a different mind, and this is what they believe. And if he was racist, he wouldn't be hugging him, touching him, doing any of this stuff. That's not racist. I just think these guys are just screwed up people.
They're actually putting them on a pedestal, because they want to become black people.
Sure.
This has nothing to do with
or
racism.
You could have people who are right. Or you could have people who are bigots. That doesn't necessarily mean you're a hardcore racist. It just means that you're not an open-minded person, and you're judgmental of people who are different than you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, people say that a lot these days because of the climate in the country. I think a lot of people just get called that or call others that because they're frustrated with the attitude of intolerance that's going on. So it gets thrown around a lot for sure. But yeah, I agree. I don't know that I think that these people are racist, but like what Joey said, that they have somehow elevated the people that they're swiping and they're using them, to continue their lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's really so complex, and the three of us could sit here and talk about this till we're blue in the face, but ultimately we really have no idea what it's like, because I mean, I don't know, Jess, are you black?
Nope. No. I mean, you saw me. I'm definitely not black.
Right. I mean, you could be, you could be half. You never know. My students, right? Like I work in many different campuses in Brooklyn, and one campus I work, it's in East New York, which is predominantly black. So my students, because I'm from Brooklyn, I grew up on the streets in Brooklyn. I might not have grown up in the ghetto, but I mean, I grew up on the streets, hanging out in the streets. I'm a street kid. You know what I mean? But so they thought I was black just because I guess that's the way I talk, the way I act. You know what I mean? And it's like but. That's the thing. When I talk with this, I'm telling you, we watched this trailer in my class. We talked about this because they've seen it. I had some of the best classes this semester because of this film. I mean, people are talking about their experiences in life, opening up. I mean, amazing. Like really talking about life, humanity, society, all this shit. And this movie opens up that door, You could look at this.
Well,
you could look at this for an entertainment value, and you could look at this on an academic value. You know.
Oh, for sure. I think it'll end up being part of, for sure, part of college curriculums in some places, and maybe even high school. Who knows? I mean, I definitely think it's a great movie for discussion for all the current events that it relates to, I guess you could say. And I'll just say real fast that you were saying, well, you haven't had these experiences because you're not Black. And so the one thing I do time is, when she tells me something, I mean, and I don't know that this stuff happens to her a lot. I'm sure it has happened to her. I know it's definitely happened to her brother, but she came from a family that had, they weren't rich, but they had decent money. The parents were both teachers with master's degrees, and they were, had good jobs. And her brother eventually got like 3 or 4 degrees. He's like a dentist or something. But she experienced, whereby, her brother would like be driving a nice car, he'd be pulled over, or, the old, you're in the store and you get followed because they assume you're stealing because you're Black and things like that. And I have not had these experiences because I'm not her and I don't know what it's like to be her, but I believe her when she tells me things. And we were talking about this the other day, and she even said, like, she doesn't think it's that people, are like, not, it's not that people don't believe it when you say that stuff. Like if you're a Black person and you tell your friends, oh, like, or that they think you're, lying or making it up, or, just that they're, not tolerant of what you're saying. It's that people don't want to believe that stuff happens. Like people that are not a minority that goes through that, they don't want to believe it. So they just want to push it under the rug and they want to ignore it. You know what I mean? And so when they get told stuff like that, they're like, oh, nobody was following you, or, oh, I'm sure that cop just pulled you over because, maybe he thought your tire was there, or you had a broken tail light or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
People don't want to believe that stuff is happening. So maybe her thing was, maybe there's more people like that than there are people who just don't care, or who are racists. Like
more people like the cop, you're saying, who was asked for his ID even though he wasn't driving.
Yeah, like, right. Exactly. Like you would have that happen, and then you would tell your friends, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm sure he was just covering all his bases or something." And they're like, and you, as a Black person, you're like, "No, like he was doing it. Like this kind of stuff happens when you're Black." Friends don't believe you, and she was saying that she thinks it's because people just don't want to believe that stuff happens. Like they don't.
Yeah. Oh, it happens. I hear it from my students on a daily basis.
That's not racial because I've been in cars and they've asked for my ID too. I wasn't driving.
Right.
So, and I'm the whitest. I'm like Casper.
Dude, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Between the ages of 16 and 20, I was arrested 7 times. The cops knew my name. They used to fucking throw us on the floor, put shotguns to our back. They used to abuse the shit out of us. I've been fucking in a jail cell for fucking 2 days without going to the bathroom and having something to eat. Like, I've been through shit, and
sure.
I'm white. There's police brutality is real, but guess what? It's fucking on another level when it comes to, being in these kind of places, especially in New York City, where people are being segregated into neighborhoods. I have friends that are cops, and it's like, I gotta stay. I stay in my car. You stay in your car. That's not your job, bro. It's like they turn the other way.
Sure.
Even my job, I got full-time professor in 4 years. You know why? Because I fucking love my job and I love the people I teach. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You know why I got it? Because other professors didn't want to go out there. That's my favorite campus. That's why I want to be. You know why? Because these are real fucking people.
Right.
And I fucking, it drives me crazy, but this is the way the world works. And all we could do is write, speak the word, get out there, make art, and try to get our voices heard. That's all you can do, because
you think
regardless, that shit is never gonna go away, and it's sad.
I agree.
Do you think this film would have made a bigger impact if it were done like in 1990 with all that stuff that was going on back then, like in the 80s and 90s with, I think a lot of racism was huge back then with all the music and...
Well, LA had a lot of problems because they had the riots because of that whole thing with, what's-his-face, Rodney King, who isn't even with us anymore. Yeah. But I mean, that was a total disaster. I mean, that was a total fucking disaster. If you watch the documentaries that they just did on that, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable what happened in that friggin' city during that time period. Like, those people just lost their goddamn minds.
And think about it, right? Back then, there was no technology like today. Now everybody has a camera in their pocket, and look what's going on. You're seeing videos every day uploaded of fucking police being racist to not just black people, but everybody. So I mean, imagine, 20 years ago, before cell phones were around, being a black person involved in some shit like that. It's crazy, man. Yeah. I mean, there's Rodney Reed. He's in jail still. Rodney Reed. Go online and look up Rodney Reed. He is in jail, right? So Rodney Reed, back in the day, right? He got with a white woman, right? In Texas. Now he's on death row, right? Guess what? The white woman's fiance was the officer in the small town. And basically, there is evidence. The officer's in jail now for raping somebody who called the cops. Like, this guy's fucked up. Yet, this guy is still on death row when there is actual evidence that he is, innocent. She was having an affair with a white woman, and the fucking she was engaged to a police officer. Police officer finds out and sets this guy up. Still on fucking death row. He has a hearing set in October, and there'll be some evidence on display, and hopefully that will finally fucking set him free. That's how fucked up this shit is.
For sure. I mean, it just blows my mind. Like, whenever I watch that, I think it's called American Crime Story or whatever. It's the same guy that does American Horror Story. So he did the O.J. Simpson thing last year.
Yeah, my wife watched it.
And at one point there was a scene where the lawyer, Johnny Cochran, is pulled over by an LA cop. And I mean, he has him out of the car and, putting his hands on the car and behind his back. And I mean, he's getting crazy and all this stuff. And Johnny is like, look me up, check me out. Like, I'm a lawyer and all this stuff. I mean, he's wearing like a 3-piece suit and shit. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'm just like, I cannot fucking believe. And that was back right around that same time with the Rodney King thing. I'm like, this is like what the fuck do you think this guy's doing in a 3-piece suit? You think he's about to rob the corner store? Like, give me a fucking break. Like, it was ludicrous. And I'm just like, I don't understand how these people put up with this shit. Like, it blows my mind. And the funny thing is, too, if you talk to a black person, they'll tell you black cops are worse than white ones. I've never had the experience. What's that?
I said Suge Knight used to wear a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, instead of looking him up, instead of just taking his information and immediately going and looking him up, he's got to harass him first, and do all this shit to him before he'll go check his stuff. And if he would have just done that right away, he'd have seen who he was dealing with. Like, it's just insane. It's just crazy. It is really crazy. And while I've never been arrested, not ever, and I've never been in trouble with the law, not one time. But I mean, I have to take my friend's word for it. And I think that's interesting that black people will tell you that I've had so many black people tell me that black cops are worse than white cops and scarier than white cops. And I'm like, damn. Like, that's pretty crazy, because you would think they'd be on your side or they'd be looking out for you,
Nope.
Now, why is that?
Nope.
I'm sorry, but why is that? Is there because they're the same color?
I wish I knew the answer to that. That's a good question. I don't think I've asked her why. or
Yeah, no,
anyone else that's
Well,
told me
they
that.
would keep an eye out and make sure things are fair. Everybody should keep an eye out and make sure things are fair.
Yeah.
Sure.
White or
But
black.
in the real world, things aren't the way they should be.
No, and I don't think anybody wants to put their neck out for anybody else these days either. It's a rare thing. You know, everybody's just concerned about themselves.
You know, that's like if somebody's trans, right? And you got another trans person, you're gonna look out for your brother or sister. You know what I mean?
One would
Same
think so.
kind of
Sure.
ordeal. You know, not saying
Abs-
that's you should give that person special treatment because they're your own, but it's only, I guess, instinct to
Sure.
I mean, look, tribes have been around. Tribes are still around. Tribes are always going to be around, whether it's tribes in the horror community or tribes on an actual tribal level, you know, where it's,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Well, what's the difference between that and gender? Like, or do you support every male out there? You know, no.
No,
I mean,
hell no.
I don't see the difference between that and the color or anything. People are people. I think you just are supposed to do the right thing, and
Right. I absolutely agree with you.
But when you're some, I'm sorry to cut you off, but when you're somebody who's like persecuted, right? You know, when you're a white man, it's real easy to, you know, live free and do whatever the fuck you want to do. But when you're somebody who's persecuted, like a homosexual or somebody of race, of a different race, then guess what? You know, you have that stigma against you, unfortunately, you know?
Sure.
Hey, I was on the beach one time with my shirt off, and I was told, dude, put your shirt back on. You're too white.
No.
You fat bastard, you.
I'm not kidding. My buddy was like, did he really say that? I was like, yeah.
Listen,
funny.
I go on the beach and I let it all hang out. Fuck that. I'll go on the nude beach.
I put my shirt back on because I felt persecuted and I felt like an outcast. So it's not, I felt like that being white.
Sure.
I mean, it happened, but I really didn't give a fuck. I'm just saying. So the end of this movie, what did you guys think of it?
Yo, I'll give you one more example before because see, that's the thing. Look at this movie just brought us into this fucking crazy ass conversation.
Yeah,
but I'll give you one example. When I was a teenager, I got arrested one time, right? In the park smoking pot. So we had 2 blunts. So the cops caught me and my friend. They bring us in the back of the wagon, right? So we're driving around. They're looking for people. Next thing you know, we're driving around. They find these 2 black guys. They were smoking the pot. Well, little did they know that there was a little, like the stream, somebody had the fire hydrant on in the street. So there was like a stream of water. So they threw it and it disappeared. You know what these cops did? They took one of our blunts and put it in their envelope. Like, dude, you know, that's fucking crazy, bro. You just framed a person. I mean, granted they were smoking pot, but still, you didn't have the proof. You took evidence from another fucking thing and put it on these people.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Now, you know, if they were white, maybe the same thing would have happened. But you know what? We weren't in a quote unquote white neighborhood. So they drove out of jurisdiction. You know, they weren't even in their jurisdiction anymore. Yeah. Where they caught me, they weren't in their jurisdiction. They wrote a totally different address. I was inside of a park and they wrote that I was on Coney Island Avenue, like 2 miles up the road. A totally different thing. Long story short, you know what I mean? It's such a fine line, but you know what? It's real. It exists. There's so many different levels of it. And like Jess said earlier, good point. There's people that outright fucking wave their fucking flags of it. And there's people that just keep it inside and, you know, subtly teach it to their children without even realizing it, you know?
Sure. I mean, intolerance is intolerance, you know? It doesn't really matter how you express it. Eventually, you know, it's gonna come out and it's gonna affect the people around you. I mean, I guess my bottom line is I just don't understand, like, why? Who cares? Why do I care what other people do? I don't care if you're what's in your pants or who you sleep with at night, or you know, you want to be transgendered and you want to keep your penis. That's your business. That's not my business.
If you want to tuck it in, no problem.
Right. I mean,
tuck it in, baby.
As long as you're honest about who you are as a person, what difference does it make? I mean, why do I care if you're black? Why do I care what job you have or who you go home to at night or what religion you are, or where you go to church? I mean, it doesn't. Who cares?
Don't get me started on that. My wife grew up Orthodox Jewish, right? So actually, the house that I live in now is kosher because my mother-in-law keeps a kosher house. So, yo, when I tell you the fucking shit that's gone down because of this, it's like unbelievable. You know, it really is. So it's not just a race thing; it's a religious thing too. Like, yo, there's people in my neighborhood, because I live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of religious Jewish people. I'm walking around with horror t-shirts on. They look at me like I'm the devil. I don't give a fuck. Okay. I am who I am. I don't care if you're black, blue, green, purple, orange. As long as you're a good person and try to be a good person in life, I think that's what's important. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy diversity. I don't want to live around all white people, or if I were black, I wouldn't want to live around all black people or all transgender. Like I like to have a mix of people so I can get different viewpoints and learn about different types of people's lives. I don't want to be with all the same kind of person. I think that's sad. You know, you're limiting your experiences in your life because somebody's not the same as you. Like, who cares? I mean, you could find people that are different than you but the same, meaning they might look different, or they might be a different sex, or they might be a transgender, or whatever they are, but they have the same viewpoints as you do, or they like the same things you do. What I mean, like I said, I say this to my best friend all the time. I just say I don't understand. I don't really, honestly. Why can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't understand not liking someone because they are different than you.
Because humanity is fucked. That's why.
It certainly is, and it's not just our country's problem; it's many countries' problem.
And so many different levels. I mean, you go to these, countries where it's just like a woman is just this object that fucking produces children and takes care of a home, and you say a word, you'll get slapped. Like, it's fucking crazy, you know. But
absolutely,
again, we're animals, and many, it's fun. Oh shit! Did I just erase this whole note? I'll fucking cry right now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there it is. Okay. The father says it's such a privilege to experience someone else's culture. He's like showing them about, oh, we got these in Bali, all this stuff. So like, yeah, of course you want to experience other cultures, but can you really experience being that culture? It's very complex, very complex.
Well, I'll tell you this, and then we'll do the ending, because I want to talk about the ending too. And I did find out there was more than one ending also.
Yes. Yes.
Is getting married to a girl who is half Indian. So her dad is Indian and her mom is whatever her mom is. She's white, but whatever her heritage is. Whenever they came at Christmas, that was the first time I met her. And she has a couple cousins that came with her brother and her parents. And let me tell you, because my family everyone is white. No one is married to anybody of color or any other, whatever. There's a few variations on religion, but still within Christianity. I was so excited to see brown people, but I was just like, this is wonderful. I'm so excited that we have these new people and they're all so nice and cool. The funny thing is, her cousin, who's my age, got married to he's a gay guy and he has a husband, so that's really cool. They're obviously open-minded as it is, but I was so excited to see different people. I'm like, now we have a gay person. And we have brown people. I'm like, this is great. And if they have kids, now we'll really have somebody that's blood related. That's that's a different race. I was super excited, and my cousin was the same way. I'm like, I was so sick of looking at white people in this family all the time.
Yeah. My cousin's gay. He was over with his boyfriend who's black on the 4th of July. We're hanging out all day. I love them. You know what I mean? They are people. People are fucking people. It doesn't matter what the fuck you are. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just so crazy. I just don't understand how fucking people could be so closed-minded.
Narrow-mindedness, for sure, yeah.
And you know what? And people always say, oh, you go to middle America and this how these people. No, I'm in New York City and you see this shit every fucking day. It doesn't matter whether you're in New York or fucking the middle of nowhere.
No,
you know,
it's not just the red states.
No, it's not just the red states. It sucks, but you know what? You just got to keep fighting the fight, raise our children the best we could do, and try to, you know, make humanity fucking exist on the best plane that it can. Because there's always going to be fucking, whether it's fucking, you know, racism or fucking child sex trafficking or fucking bullying, there's always going to be fucking issues. We just got to deal with it the best we can. And that's what it really comes down to. Now back to the movie. and that's what I mean. Like, this movie just opens up so many fucking doors.
I'm sorry. This is
I feel like I'm preaching over here or something, you know?
Yeah, sorry. I did pick it, so.
No, not at all. This is the second time I've covered it, actually. And last time we're like, we're not going into politics. We're not going to, we're like, let's stick to the movie. Here, we're just like, fuck it. Let's get loose.
Yeah. So the ending that I saw, I don't know what they played in the movie theater. I think what I saw was what was in the movies was that
this is the happy ending and the sad ending.
Right. So you think he's going to get arrested, but then his cousin, who was hilarious, pulls up in the cop car and you don't know it's him. So you automatically are like, oh, it's a black man standing over a white woman who's dying. He's definitely getting arrested. And it was his cousin, and they just drive out of there and fuck all those assholes that, you know, he murdered up in there, and that stupid bitch. Goodbye to everybody. They're free. That there was the alternate ending where he's arrested, and I was like, oh my God, I think I would have jumped out my window. I was so happy that he got away. I was like, I don't want that bad ending. That's terribleness.
You know, believe it or not, I love the ending, right? So then, you know, when I watch it this time, I ordered it on Fandango Movies. So it came with the alternate ending. So we watched it the way it was. And then when they showed this, it was actually Jordan Peele talking over it. So he said this was the original ending, that this is the way he wrote the script.
Oh my God.
You know, because the script he wrote years ago, he said this is the way he wrote the script, because it you know, it reflects reality. This is real racism. This is the way shit really works, unfortunately.
No, the black people need a happy ending.
Well, that's the thing. Is that reality? No, it's not. It's fucked up.
It's not. It's not. But since it's a movie, I mean, I was happy that he killed everybody. I was like, good. All those motherfuckers deserve to die. They're horrible people.
Yeah. Did you guys, Jim, did you see the alternate ending?
No. I mean, I had the initial thought when the car pulled up that everybody probably did, but I never saw the other ending.
So the car pulls up, and then you get a black and a white officer. They come out, and then it cuts to, it doesn't say, but Peele said it was 6 months later that, you know, he's basically in jail now, and he's in the orange jumpsuit talking through Ray or Roy, whatever the fuck his name was, I forgot, through the glass or whatever. And basically, he's like accepting of it, you know, because even though he's in jail, he fucking escaped. You know what I mean? So he just accepts it, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think if he had been stuck there, that would have been worse than jail for sure. So I think it probably would have been a triumph, even just to get out, period, regardless of where you ended up, whether it was jail or not. But I was happy they gave was the one where he gets away, because, I mean, that wasn't his fault. You know, those people were crazy. And he, you know, he saved other people's lives, if you want to look at it like that.
And everything in the alternate ending, he's like, everything's fine, you know. I stopped him. He tells Ray or whatever the fuck his name was.
Yeah. And I will say Catherine Keener did a really good job. The mom.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because she always is like
really creepy.
Yeah, she's always like a good, happy character, and this one she was a creep. Super creep.
Yep. Well, I had seen her. I mean, she's been in a lot of things, but I had the thing that sticks out in my mind whenever I see her is one of my favorite comedies. Yep.
I knew it.
So I remembered her from that. And that was actually like 15 years ago.
Holy shit.
I was like, damn. I was like, first of all, she gained weight. And she's looking a lot older these days. I'm not quite sure how old she is, but she did age somewhat, I would say, anyway, since that. But that was like 2003, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember in Schenectady, New York. That was about 10 years ago. And, yeah, you know, I mean, hey. Do you remember her being John Malkovich? I mean, she looked like she was a real dame back then. I mean, yeah, she's, you know.
She's still pretty.
She's probably like 60 years old. I don't know.
She is 58.
58.
Yeah, which means, okay, so 40-Year-Old Virgin is 2005. That was probably filmed in 2004. So, what,
12 years.
12, yeah. So she would have been 46 then, the age I be, minus a year, the age I am now. So, yeah, she did definitely, she gained a few pounds and she gained a few wrinkles. Let's put it that way.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen Survivor Quest.
Mm-mm.
Survival Quest is Don Coscarelli, the guy who did Phantasm. It's a non-horror movie, and she's in that. She's like real young in it. Her, Lance Hendrickson. He's like very cheesy, but I love it. So anyway, all right, let's fucking rate this bad boy and call it a night.
I would definitely give it 5 out of 5 zombie heads or whatever you guys use.
Jim?
I'll go 4.5 out of 5 zombie hits.
Ooh. What's it gonna be, folks? Well, on the first watch, I gave it 4.5 out of 5 zombie heads, and I'm gonna have to go with the same. 4.5 out of 5 zombie heads once again. I think this is a near perfect film. Others might disagree, but I'll never forget the experience of seeing this in the movie theater. I was legit sucked into this movie to the T. Now, I think if he ended with the original ending, I might have gone 5 out of 5. But the happy ending, as much as I liked it, I don't know, it kind of felt a little cliche-ish. So, but again, phenomenal film. This and Split, tough. Which one is better in 2017? I haven't seen it. It Comes at Night. I haven't seen A Ghost Story. I heard those two are good. But as of now, this is my number one for 2017 so far.
Yeah, It Comes at Night was disappointing. I saw that.
I've heard people say it's disappointing. I've heard others say best film of the year. So I can't wait to watch that one.
Okay, well.
All right. So, well, we've come to a close. I feel like we could keep going talking about Get Out, but I don't want to.
We're at 2.5 hours. We don't want people podcasting us and being like, Jesus, when's it going to end?
Well,
right.
All right. Well, Jessica, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Sure.
It's been fantastic. Yep. We've been on for 2.5 hours, and it does not feel like it. Jessica's podcast, Resurrection of a Zombie 7. Check them out. 250 plus episodes and going strong. Little Miss Horror Nerd on Twitter and Facebook. I see she joined our little Facebook page. So become friends and welcome to Death by Podcast, Licensed Dreadcast, discussion of movie, horror movie, more, blah, 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 whatever the fuck her name is. So
you definitely need to get
on there, share everything.
Huh?
I said share everything for us. We'll do the same for you, and we'll get everybody cross.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Whenever you put the link to your audio, just like send it to me on my Twitter, and I can tweet it for you and put it on the Facebook, on my Facebook page. That way you'll get because you want to get the downloads as opposed to the YouTube. Plus I guess we only have half of the video or less than half.
We'll be up in the morning most likely some point tomorrow. I'll send it over and probably have the link by tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully, if Mr. Lloyd
Okay.
has time.
Okay.
Mr. Jason Lloyd. So, all right. Well,
All right.
any other last
Okay.
anything, last words, any last plugs you'd like to make, Jess?
No, I'm fine. Just visit my website, zombie7.com.
All right. Very good. Signing out, Slice and Dice Dreadcast, episode 25 in the bag. Jimmy, any last words for our listeners?
No, just looking forward to next week with Mr. Bill Casanelli. So,
Hell yeah. All right, folks. Until next time, keep it real.
Okay. Bye, guys.